Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Grant and Grossi. Yeah, that's right. We're going OG. And you know why? It's because you failed us.
Yes.
Because you failed. Just like the Packers run defense on Sunday. You failed us. We checked the comments. We looked. We had just jubilation and glee looking through them. And then there was nothing. There was just sadness and despair. So do better.
Yeah. It was a sad performance across the board from everybody. And so because of that, I decided to feel a little sad, a little woe is me down in Mexico. So this is the Grant and Grossi Mexico edition.
That's it. Hola. I'm your host, Tom Grossi. That's the wonderful and magnificent Ryan Grant. I had to follow up with illustrious. I know it wasn't as good, but I did the best I can on short notice.
We're good. That's okay.
Okay. Well, listen, now Grant and Grossi has officially transcended borders. That's right. It's a worldwide movement at this point.
We are. We work international.
That's it. You know, we were talking before the show, and Ryan was telling me, he goes, the paparazzi down here is just insane. They're like, oh man, you're from Grant and Grossi. And it's so hard to keep a low profile.
It is. It's difficult. I've been able to, maneuver and dip in and out, but it is rough coming down here. I don't know if people know, there actually are a lot of Packer fans in Mexico, like a large amount. It's actually really impressive. So
yes,
my Mexicano Packer fans, I love you, and sorry for what occurred last week.
Well, I think the first question is the question that's on everybody's mind, Ryan, is if you're in Mexico today, how are you going to be a starting running back for Thursday's game?
I was just about to say I might have to fly home tonight, considering the amount of people that have DM'd me or hit me on Twitter asking if I'm available because of literally the entire backfield is not available. It's weird. Not are they not? It's just a weird thing to say like, oh, why are they not available? Well, Aaron's still not ready to go with the calf, which clearly it's a little more than we thought it was.
Yep.
And they said he was ready to go the first week. I doubt that.
Not so much.
Game count, or no. But and then AJ comes down with COVID, and now it's like anybody who's in contact with him, which basically the whole team. So we're fortunate that they didn't just.
Very true. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, absolutely, with the small group of people. So Jamal is clearly somewhat close to him. So they brought up Dexter, which I'm not mad at. Notre Dame guy. Let's get it done, Dexter. And I think it's a great opportunity. All these situations that happen are phenomenal opportunities for guys to step up.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to Dexter really taking advantage of this opportunity. Let's see if he's ready.
Yeah.
And I do expect them to use Tyler.
Oh yeah.
Situationally,
Swerve and Irvin, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's definitely not ideal by any means, especially coming off the performance of last week and what we're trying to build on. But it is what it is. That's the NFL, and not for long if you don't pull it together. So
yeah, absolutely. And kind of looking ahead too, we'll talk about the 49ers game, a team that is very familiar with, players dropping off. I mean, they have $80 million on IR right now. Like, that's crazy. Like, just how many, like, that team has just gotten decimated by injuries. And I saw a lot, when AJ came down with COVID, was diagnosed with it, I saw a lot of people going, like, honestly, like, it's crazy that we lasted this long considering Wisconsin.
No, exactly what's been going on in the state. It is actually, I thought about that. And I was like, considering the state at one point was the highest.
Yeah.
They didn't say there were no shutdowns, no delays. So
the bars were just wide open like day one. They're like, come on back. That's fine. It's
And
fine.
I don't actually, it's just we're just not used to it. So it's such an odd situation in regards to like how it happened. Of course, the curiosity comes like, well, I wonder where he was, how it was. Like,
Sure.
I don't know, it's random,
Listen,
but at least we do. Both teams have been, like you said, decimated and really just banged up in regards to hurt or COVID, whatever it may be.
yeah.
Just this is going to be an interesting game. Jimmy, I think
Jimmy's out indefinitely right now
out
with a
indefinitely
high
right now.
ankle.
So
Yep. And Kittle's out for 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep. He has a broken bone in his foot. So
Man.
yeah, they've, I mean, again, and you already started off with like week 1, right? Solomon Thomas is gone. Bosa is gone. All their running backs are gone too. I mean, like Mostert is not there.
Yeah. Oh man.
Coleman is not there. Like
My guy back is what's it? Jarrett? Is it Jarrett?
McKinnon.
Yeah, McKinnon.
Pretty sure he's out too.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting banged up game.
Yes. So we'll see a 5th string running back attack our running defense, which honestly,
but listen, like I said,
I'm not confident.
and twofold. It does not mean that they won't get it done. So yeah, it's still the issues on defense with the Packers in regards to that run defense can still be a problem this week based upon the fact that the San Francisco 49ers, they're a system running attack. They run that zone scheme like no other. It's Shanahan, Bobby Turner. Like I said, when I spoke about that last week, that running back coach for the 49ers is top shelf, top of the line. Trust me, whoever they have in that backfield, they will have him ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not something they could still churn out 200 yards out of a team.
Oh, yeah.
In the run game. So it's not something that, and I do think that the coaches in Green Bay will recognize that because it's scheme based. It's not a matter of they don't really care who's in the backfield. They think that they can actually coach up a guy to understand the zone scheme and that they're just gonna. I'm sure they're thinking, okay, we just gotta control the ball, not turn the ball over. You know what I mean? So like no silly mistakes. And they might think they'll be able to push that defensive line around. And to be honest with you, that's the best game plan you could have is with what's going on because keep Aaron off the field.
Yep, exactly.
So,
Yeah, and Nick Mullins is going to be the starter, and we played him 2 years ago, and it went down to the wire. It was a Monday night game, and we played him a couple years ago, and it was a game that we should have, we thought we were going to blow him out, and Nick Mullins came in and he played. So, I mean, listen, the Packers are beat up right now, and I'm thinking that obviously the weather hopefully, won't be a factor, but I'm not sleeping on the 49ers in any way, shape or form.
No.
I mean, you had the blueprint is there, right? I mean, you look and it was there last year with the NFC Championship game. It's there from this Sunday. Good.
They've seen what can attack and what can definitely get after Green Bay. And both teams need this win. That's where it's going to be interesting. It's like even though both teams are really banged up, this is an interesting time that both teams need to kind of set some sort of marker in what direction. If you can't pull this one out, like what I talked about is like these are the times where you want to kind of separate and start to see like middle tier teams, top tier teams. If Green Bay can't pull that apart, they're definitely a middle tier team. Pulling it, that would make them 5-3. And the same with San Fran. So San Fran wants to kind of solidify that they can still make some things happen and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. This is
it's a game. I mean, it's one of those
things. It's
gonna
be a game. Yeah. And I do expect them to go heavy and like allow Aaron to, okay, Aaron, we're gonna need you to, A-Rod's gonna have to show and prove and step up, and they're gonna say, listen, let's protect. Number one thing is protect. I know that Dexter Williams this week, everything is around just protection. We've got to give Aaron time. Guys have to step up, make plays, step up, be smart. I don't know, man. I don't know what are they going to do? Oh yeah, so let me hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I feel like we totally skipped over the past games. It doesn't matter. I feel like the 49ers, right? like their fan base for a lot of it has like kind of been like, all right, well, that's it. I mean, because again, they've been decimated by injuries.
Yeah.
Now they lose their QB. Now they lose their star tight end. They don't really have a ton of running backs. And I feel like if there's anything, there's very little expectations for the 49ers in terms of like the fan base looking at them of like, oh, we'll get this one. However, I feel like there's more pressure on the Packers because if they lose to this team that is decimated by injury, like the Vikings are, then it's like, okay, there's a serious problem now.
They don't deserve to be in that elite conversation at all. Like no, they absolutely not. This is a game that and honestly, it's very similar to last week. Like you said, they should win this game. They should have won last week, and they should have won last week handily. So let's talk about this.
Yeah.
And with that, let's talk about that.
Yeah, and you know, what's crazy too is like this past week, like you could have made a ton of money in Vegas because the amount of upsets that occurred. I mean, like it was a weird ass week, right? You had the Bengals beating the Titans, which was out of nowhere. The Giants are going toe to toe with the Buccaneers and nearly like, you know, pulling off a victory on Monday night. Like there was some shocking games that were going on here. And, you know, the Packers, they fell into that as well. And again, you know, like you and I talked about it and we've gone over the game and you look at it and the offense wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. You know, the second half, they definitely stalled. There was definitely stalling going on. There were some misplays, but I mean, again, if you, I said this multiple times on the show, if you looked at Sunday's game and the biggest thing that stood out to you was like, wow, we need another wide receiver. I don't know what game you were watching. Like, I don't know. Could it have helped?
About the first time in Minnesota history or something like that, that guy had 200 yards rush and 4 touchdowns.
I think it was like since like 1979 or something crazy stat like that.
And it's funny because I was almost surprised because I was thinking, yo, my man Cook, hasn't he done this like a couple times?
Yeah. He usually has pretty good games against us.
He's banking on Green Bay giving him at least $150.
I'm sure.
Change once a season. He's definitely made some money from Green Bay, and I will say I'm not impressed with some tackling.
We're the worst tackling team right now in the NFL. Like statistically, we are literally the worst.
Statistically, are we? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not impressed with that, and I think that, you know, when you start to see groups of guys in a position not doing things well, then of course you have to equate it to like coaching to some degree.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's been the topic of conversation after this week, because you look at, and you and I have talked about this on the show and off the show, talking about last year's championship game, right? The ball literally was just hand the ball to Mostert, right? And that was it. And while like that was terrible, I think the bigger thing was that there was no adjustment to that, right? They had the same exact game plan in the first half and they executed the same exact game plan in the second half. And it was Dalvin Cook all day. And there was no adjustment. There was no adjustment, you know, in the first quarter. There was none at halftime. And it just continuously happened. We made some stops in the fourth quarter, but like that was the only times that we actually stopped the Vikings. They punted for the first time in the fourth quarter. Like that's, you know, it gets to a point where, is it coaching? Is it personnel? Is it a mix of both? You know,
and honestly, I think it's a mix of both, because it's one thing when you see that coaches consistently don't adjust. And then you're like, okay, well, why aren't they adjusting? It's hard to say that they're not adjusting because of incompetence from a coaching aspect. They probably don't feel comfortable making the adjustments because they think that with those adjustments come glaring holes. And sometimes the holes are putting people in space. You're putting people on an island when it comes to the matchups or whatever it may be, you know, because everything is nowadays in the game is matchups, one-on-ones and stuff like that. Sure. And when you bring pressures and start bringing guys down, I read something around maybe the thought around flipping Savage and putting him closer down in the box.
Yep.
I don't know. You know, like I said, I don't ever claim to feel like I'm a coach, especially a defensive coach, but I know that it's not, you know, and you say what it is, and maybe it's guys just not feeling comfortable. It's almost like we're not playing with the same aggressive tenacity
No.
from setting the tone, like stopping the run. And that, to be honest with you, that sets the tone across the board. And it's funny, also, we're not doing very well in regards to like turnovers,
Nope.
which was the number last year. That was one of our identities as a team.
Yeah. I think through the first few games, like the same amount of games, I think we had like 13 or 14, and now we have like 4. I think it is like it's massively down in turnovers.
Our identity last year was in the fact that, they're going to force turnovers. And as a defense, that is something that when you know a defense immediately, like they're forcing 2 turnovers a game, you keep that in your back mind. Hey, man, we got to protect the ball. Like that's something that they do very, very well. It's in your mind. It's in the back of your mind. So you're not just clear cut, boom, boom, boom. But you're not out here just like slinging, and doing everything. You're thinking, hey, man, and that's not clearly teams are not scared about that, right now. And I don't know, like I'm sure when you look at everything, like our pressures are down across the board.
I was about to say pressures are down, sacks are down.
Everything's down because it's all very apparent. You can see it all.
And here's the thing, because I want to kind of like we've talked about the run defense a bit, and this kind of like leads into the next conversation. So the trade deadline, came and went today. It's gone. There was rumors of the Packers getting Will Fuller from the Texans. They expressed interest. The Texans wanted a 2nd-round pick. I think we offered a 3rd. They did not budge. So we didn't get it. These past few days, and again, it's overreaction Monday, right? Because the Packers lost, so it's time for the internet to set itself on fire. But the thing that I saw the most of, and I truly can't understand this, was that right now the Green Bay Packers, I think, are number 4 in scoring. So they're 4 scoring offense. So like they're still top 5. I think they're definitely top 10 within passing yards. So like we're good on that front. Yes, could a wide receiver help? Absolutely.
I recognize these numbers.
but I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, we're 20th in points allowed for the defense. Like, do you not see the massive problem here? And that's not going to be solved by a wide receiver. Like you look at the Seattle Seahawks, right? We've talked about them almost every week on this show. They have an incredibly high-powered offense. I think if not, they're definitely top 3, in scoring, might be number 1. I don't have those numbers in front of me. But their defense is abysmal. But they literally just blow out teams, or, they lose games like the Cardinals game. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you look at this and go, okay, no, a wide receiver is going to solve our woes, unless Will Fuller is coming in here and is going to stop the run, like I don't get it.
I'm not really surprised from a fandom aspect, because fans really do think that you can just continue to just beat teams by outscoring them. And yes, from a matter of fact aspect, you score more points, you win the game, but it just doesn't bode well.
Yeah.
It's hard. The strategy of the game of football is stay on the field, score points, keep the other person off the field. And when you look at, especially, and for the way that we work, our best player needs to be on the field. So you need Aaron on the field. You can't have team destroying us by running. It's one thing if our pass defense was a whole nother thing, that takes time, it's like, hey, okay, we got to, but that amount of time that it takes, like you said, how many possessions did they have in the first half?
Packers had 2.
And it wasn't because they were just turning the ball over across the board.
Nope.
Like you can't do that. You can't allow teams to literally just continue to just move the ball. It takes you out of rhythm emotionally. It drains the hell out of your D line, which is one of the things that, it's important. And all this stuff down the road, identity-wise, like people don't understand you have to set an identity. And right now, I don't really know what the identity of the Packers is. I don't, and even if you could say like, oh yeah, they're a decent team, but if somebody say, hey man, they got a really good, they're strong with it. I don't know. I don't know what the identity is. And I think that part of it is injury. Part of it is the fact that they haven't been able to have guys from a continuity aspect. We know Devontae is a top tier, and yes, I think that Aaron can put those guys in position from a wide receiver core to make a lot of plays, and that backfield when performing well. Aaron is top tier as well, but Aaron's been out this 2 games, and continuity aspect, I think right now it's one of those things that you're trying to get wins, but we can't really set identities with these wins.
Correct.
We're just so like, where do we go with this as a team? It's like, all right, well, we're literally back to basics. Guys just have to say, hey, let's just get back to basics of playing Packer football, which is let's play penalty free, turnover free, solid pluses, like pluses on our plays, making sure you're doing your job individually, and let's just make plays and then go from there. But I don't know, when you think about looking at like top tier teams, usually they have an identity at this point in time.
Sure.
And I don't know where I don't know. I honestly don't know where to go and say, well, this is
who we are.
This is who we are and where we're going to go with. This is our stable. I don't know.
So let me ask you a question, because this is going to kind of lead into what we're talking about next. So all the years that you were with the Green Bay Packers, just personal opinion, how many years would you say that you had either a good or great defense?
Good or great defense. Well, our defense in 2010 stepped up when need be. We had a lot of injuries, of course, for the Super Bowl, but those guys, they stepped up. They, especially when when guys on offense were getting hurt, they were stepping up because we weren't able to put it. And I will say that my first year in 2007, when we went 13-3, that defense was solid. They were making plays. They were getting turnovers because our identity offensively wasn't there yet until I kind of came in to the mix and we were able to kind of like create a rushing attack. We were winning games. We found ways to win games, but we weren't actually like very consistent as an offense. So let me think.
I mean, I would say like 2.
Yeah, 2, maybe 3. Like I remember in 2009 when we were a wild card, even though I felt like we were playing phenomenal ball.
Oh God, that Arizona game
towards the end of the season, and we did. We felt like we were the best team going into the tournament with how we had been playing.
Yeah.
And in that game in Arizona was heartbreaking because we were just down 100 points.
I remember that game so vividly. 1, I'm still not over the face mask because that was a face mask at the end. Yeah. And 2, I remember the announcer saying that Kurt Warner had more touchdowns than incompletions, and I'm like, that's not a good stat.
And it's an interesting thing because do you remember when they said that in that game they were like, none of these teams' defense deserves to be in the next game?
Yes.
And it was true. It was like, oh, both of these offenses are phenomenal right now.
The defenses were there for show. They were like, hey.
Yeah, but the defenses do not deserve to be playing in this next game. And it was wild because I think that, as much as an offensive player, I think any offensive player will tell you, like, yeah, you really do. You win with the defense. Like, you need the defense to make plays and to solidify things when it comes down to it. Because you're in your best situation. If you know your team's gonna keep a team under 14 points or keep a team.
Yeah.
Trust me, offenses feel like, oh,
you're like,
because as an for real, and as a professional team, you feel like, oh, we can definitely score more than 14 points. And if we don't, that's on us. Like, that's troubling on us very much. So we're not getting our job done. So yeah, I don't know, man. In 11, as good as we were in 11, and we were just blowing teams out. We knew we had to blow teams out, and
wasn't the defense.
it was just inconsistent. So I think that, you want guys to get an identity, creating turnovers, getting pressure. The 3 big things: create turnovers, get pressure, and stop the run. Like, those are staples of having a solid defense.
And I think if you look back within the last decade, the Super Bowl stands out because that team was a bend don't break, get lots of turnovers. And like you said, they really stepped up.
Next man up, guys stepped up.
Yeah,
like make play. It's almost one of those things that like, listen, make plays. And then we don't know how it's going to come about. Like just make some stuff happen. And I'm looking for guys to do that. And making plays, I think people get it confused. It doesn't mean that you have to do the wild. Oh no, it's like make a solid stuff.
That's it.
You know, like make like really tackle well. Like make sure that you're just doing solid things and be in a position to make the play that you should make. And that's what I think, guys, we need to get back to. Like, oh, you know what? Let's just go back to solid football where guys are making. I don't need to see the extravagant play. Like, yo, let's just do our job and
just do your job
to the level, do it. Like, just do your job, man.
Yeah. Because you have 2010, 2014, I would argue we had a good defense. 2014 was pretty good. And then you could go when we went to the NFC Championship against Seattle, and then obviously that happened. But then, and then you look at last year. Like I would say, like, there was aspects of it in which they were rejuvenated. I don't know if I would say like they were amazing by any stretch of the imagination.
No, but I did actually. I liked the defense last year, so I'm not.
But they were good. They were solid. I would say
they were solid. They were solid. Honestly, solid. Anybody that thinks about that team last year, they were going to say, "Oh no, the defense was solid. They were getting pressure."
Yeah.
It was. The teams did not want to play against that defense, and there were a lot of teams that were like, "Oh, it's just frustrating to play." Across the board, they were exciting. They were having fun, creating turnovers, making plays. Yeah, and they did. They got mopped up. Like I said, at the end of the game, they got mopped up, and they got mopped up by a team that.
Yeah, and the thing is, so the point that I'm getting at here is that it's not like the Packers haven't tried to address this, right? I mean, we have picked a defensive player in the first round for the vast majority of this decade, like almost every single year. Yeah, essentially, right? Like it's almost every single year. And I think, because of course what came up again was, okay, the Packers should have addressed these problems in the draft this year because we can never get over the draft. And I'm looking at this and like it's driving me insane because one, I don't know if the draft was good. Because nobody knows if the draft is good, because we're not going to know for another 3 years. No one's going to know what Jordan Love's going to play like. No one knows what A.J. Dillon is going to, like, we don't know. So that's put it to the side for right this second. And the people argue that we should have drafted for the now. And we've talked about this and like, they were one game away, what have you. But my bigger question is, and I don't know if anyone has an answer for this, is that within the past decade, right, we've gone through 2 defensive coordinators. We had Dom Capers, and then we wound up and we have Mike Pettin. We have brought in personnel in the Smith brothers, right? We've brought in Julius Peppers, 1 year, what have you. Very few moves in free agency, except for, a couple years ago. And on top of that, we have utilized the draft to try and get those defensive stars. And for the most part, that has not worked out. We've got it with Kenny Clark. We've gotten it and hit with like a guy like Jair Alexander. But, other than that, it's a little tough going when it comes to our star defensive players. And we release guys, like Casey Hayward. We release guys like Micah Hyde. We let them walk, We let them walk to other teams, and they've done well, right? They did well on the Chargers, and then Micah Hyde's killing it over in Buffalo. And I think like the bigger question is why the hell can the Green Bay Packers not figure it out on defense? Because if we're looking at defensive coordinator, and, I think Dom Capers did stay a little bit too long, that was a problem. And maybe Pettin's not the guy. I don't know. Maybe he's not. But it seems at some point, like, is it just an overall, like, hey, the scouting team's not doing well enough when it comes to drafting these defensive guys. Maybe they're not being utilized in the right way. Like, I feel like it's just gotten to a point where in 10 years, if we are looking at 3 years of solid defensive play, like, that's a problem. And I feel like a lot of the time that gets overshadowed because our offense is so good and like has carried our defenses.
But also, yes. So there's always going to be some sort of overshadowing simply because of who's running the helm quarterback wise. So you can't have Aaron is Aaron and everything's a step under Aaron.
Yeah.
So, everything. So unless we were to get I'm trying to think of what would be the equivalence. Like, let's say we did get JJ. Let's say they were able to have traded for JJ.
Sure.
Maybe it would have been like, okay, now the standard is up there as it, like, I don't know. But I'm big on guys stepping up. Like, I don't know, man. I'm a big like they're pros for a reason. And if you're acknowledging that guys are not the playmakers, it's like, well, then I also don't think a lot of stuff is one off.
Sure.
I'm not big in like one off guys. Most guys in the league can perform at a high level. It wouldn't be at the league, and the difference between the consistency is one thing, but the difference between practice squad players and Pro Bowl players is very minute in the sense of it might just be discipline. It might just be the little things, doing the little things across the board. And I do think that we're fully capable of making plays. They showed it last year. The team is not totally different. Like we're not looking at a totally different squad in general. And do I think that guys are making the jumps that they're supposed to make and that we would like to them to make from last year to 2020? Not necessarily. I'm not really impressed with those type of jumps. There are a few, like I said, Jair Alexander has been playing lights out. He's literally been playing. If you look at incrementally, he's an all-pro dude. He's an all-pro player. He was on track to become an all-pro player from Jump Street. If you look at how he's developing as a player and the standard that he has for himself. Zadarius Smith came in, jumped on board, and was lights out last year for us, and really, I think, put a spark in regards to that identity.
Yeah.
We need that same thing. We need literally that same level. Clark, Preston, these are guys that, when you get paid, the pressure's on. But it's not a matter of like, is he really worth it? It's like, no, of course. You just got to perform. And the consistency, yes, it's more magnified and everything like that. And now teams are game planning for you. So it's, of course, more difficult. Like, yes, they watch film. You put film in there, but we've got to get it done. And I'm a big I think I don't like to point fingers in regards to like either or. And like I said, I'm not saying that. How long was Dom there? Because I do think Dom, and I think most coaches are usually there a year longer. They're either fired way early.
Yeah, he was there for a few years longer, but yeah,
like your coaches are either there like a few years longer, or they get fired way early.
Yeah,
and that's the nature of the business, because from a GM aspect and from an executive, it's like we don't know. Like, so some people's like, yo, you cut your losses. I don't like that we let guys walk so easy, but I feel like that's kind of true to like the Green Bay formula.
Yeah.
It's kind of been develop you. We might give you a second contract, maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe, but we also are relying on the fact that we have Hall of Fame quarterbacks that can, get away with. It would be interesting to see if we had a serious middle tier quarterback. I'm trying to think of what guy would be on how they would manage things a little differently, if at all.
I feel like like you have an Alex Smith or something, like, pre-injury kind of thing. Like Alex
Smith somebody where it's like, oh, you don't think he's gonna win games for you necessarily. But what would you do? Would you do things to say like, you know what? All right, let's literally just bring in bodies. Like, we got to bring dudes in and let's try and get as many bodies of playmakers as we can. Or are we building super depth?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To try to like the long haul. I don't know. I don't know. I will say that speaking for me, I'm not big on, I think it's everyone. Like, there needs to be a conversation in that room and say like, listen, this is not panic mode by any means, but there's a consistency that we are not performing when it comes to the run game. And I'm saying tackling, like, yo, that's fundamental shit. It's like, come on, what are we talking about? What are we talking about?
What are we doing out here?
Yeah, like, really, what are we doing? Like,
bringing the Oklahoma drill back.
The goal on defense, you tackle. But you know what's funny is I had said something last week about there was a pressure that Jamal missed, and I said something on Twitter about it, and a lot of people it hit them a little heavy, and I said, well, this is, you got to understand that regardless of the situation, Aaron ended up stepping up and making a play, big ball on the right hand on the sideline when he broke the pressure and broke out to the right, and I said, this is a major mistake. This is a mistake by Jamal. And what happens is that it's a copycat league. So even though the fact that Aaron had a big play with the play, the fact that Jamal missed, they're going to bring it again because they're going to test you. This league is all about testing what you put on film. to see what weak links. And when you do that, they're going to show it over and over and over again until you can actually protect it, because they're not banking. Honestly, it was a phenomenal play by Aaron, but it should have been a sack.
Sure.
And I personally, I think it was a mental error. So it's not something that I was like, oh, this is the glaring, like, hey, Jamal's going to mess this up every time. Like, I don't think he will, because I think he's a really good pass protecting back. But these type of things in regards to contextually about the run defense, it would be illogical and counterintuitive if you didn't think that they were just going to attack and destroy. So it's only going to get more difficult. That's what I'm saying. Whatever you put on film, this is going to become way more difficult, because it's like, yeah, we're going to try you over and over and over, because we don't act. Now they don't believe. So now it's like when I talk about like false confidence, like they've got a road to now prove that they're a solid run defense, because they're going to continue to get pushed. It's not like, if they shut them down in the first quarter, Shanahan's going to say, we're going to go away from the run. No, he's going to say, we don't believe you.
Yeah, exactly.
Based upon the data, we don't believe you. So they're in for it. That defense is going to have to step up and rise to the challenge of like, okay, all the pressure's definitely on them. And I would hope and think that Aaron is going to say like, yo, you know what you need to do. We know what we need to do. We need to step up as well, because pressure's on you. We're going to, step up and maybe make things a little easier for you and alleviate some things for you. So it's one of those games that, like, I'm glad the Packers are facing a team that is decimated in their own right, because if they were facing a team that was moving and grooving, even like, let's say if they were facing a team like Seattle, I'd say, even though both teams are scoring teams right now, I think I wouldn't feel like I wouldn't feel like confidence wise what they have on paper right now is these last 3 weeks is solid enough. So it's one of those games where, like, use this game to get your butts back on track, to perform, get back to having fun, get right, so that we can start really get back in that groove. Because if not, it's gonna, we gotta, it's one of those things. When you win, I look forward to the competition. When you lose, it's like, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, exactly. It's so crazy, because like while you were talking, I was also thinking about, 3 years from now, and I know that's like way in the future, but like 3 years from now, this is going to be a very different Green Bay Packers team, right? There's potential that Aaron Rodgers isn't there. There's potential that Aaron Jones is not there next year. You have like some of the major players gone because they're huge cap hits. We haven't had another wide receiver that has really stepped up to be that new guy who's eventually going to replace Adams, who only has a couple years left too. And I think, what your comment, especially talking about like, what do you do with like a middle of the road quarterback? And we obviously have no idea what's going on with Jordan Love yet. We have no idea. And I don't want to even pretend to cast judgment on what he's going to be. But it's going to be fascinating to see what this new iteration of the Green Bay Packers looks like post Aaron Rodgers. Because honestly, like, it's like they're starting from scratch. Like, I would not be surprised in 3 years, like, this is a rebuild team that's like, hey, like we're that's what we're doing.
I totally agree with you. I think that post Aaron, the whole mentality changes, just because you don't know body of work, what you have at all. Like, even when we had Aaron's first year, we knew Aaron was the truth, but we also felt it was going to be development, and we didn't do very well that season. And what we realized was like, okay, we're close. We're just losing games in the fourth quarter at the end. We couldn't close games. We couldn't finish games. I'm concerned. I actually think about that, because I am concerned when I do think about like the future in that aspect. I am with the track record of how Green Bay works. I'm concerned about Aaron Jones sticking around, especially with the fact of like him still having such high value but being hurt. And then there being glaring issues on the defense where it's like, okay, do we need to bring some dudes in defensively where the money goes? Like, what do they do? So now it's like they can't just say, oh, you know what? No, we're gonna pay our dues because the defense, we're good to go. It's like, well, maybe not. Yep. So And I don't expect, I am all for guys getting paid. I do not expect Aaron to take the hometown.
No, he's not taking a hometown discount.
He shouldn't. Like,
no, he shouldn't.
Rightfully so. He has proven that he is worth every dollar.
Yep.
And that he gets. And so that, yeah, I'm not like, no, the future is just as, no, it's like,
yeah, I'm trying to push it out of my mind. And again, like, focus on it now.
I literally do push it out of my mind.
Yeah, because you're like, nope, let's not. That's for something for future Ryan and future Tom to think about. And now is not that time to think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
All we got to think about right now is going into Santa Clara on Thursday and kicking some ass. And that's what's in front of us right now.
Really.
And that's it.
Get over this Viking hump. You gave them a little fuel to make them feel better about themselves.
This was their Super Bowl. This was their Super Bowl.
Always is. It always is. And I'm tired of letting them, I'm tired of giving them anything, but it is what it is. And I do like Cook, so I'm not mad at him. He's the truth. So I actually feel for him. He needs to get out of there. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Yeah, and then we can just handle business. Let's just take care of business and get that win in San Francisco. Yeah, and then get back on track. What do we got after San Fran?
It's a great, Jaguars.
Okay. Take care
this is the stretch of the schedule where we need to get right.
Let's take care of San Fran and get back to work.
Exactly. Mr. Ryan Grant, it's always a pleasure. I appreciate you coming in. Mr. Worldwide over here from Mexico, calling in. Tell the people, as always, where they can find everything that you do.
You can catch me in the La Calle de Mexico. No, you can catch me on Twitter. I'm accessible all the time for the most part. Ryan Grant 25. I wish if the Packers come calling, I will be in Green Bay, fellas. Ladies and gents, if they ask, I am still in shape. Yes. I know you guys want to know I am still in shape. I do take care of myself. I'd say pretty.
See, I've seen the guns. They're big.
Do I think that I could give you 15 carries? Probably not if I plan on the next day moving. I could probably give you a solid 8 carries and a solid 4 or 5 play actions, which are fakes just for the novice. Fake handoffs. And that would be it. You know,
that might be enough, Ryan. They won't know. Because listen, they'll be so starstruck. They'll just be like, is that Ryan Grant from Grant and Grossi? Oh my God. Like,
starstruck or just laughing hysterically without having to, they'll be like, who's this old man? I'll be like, hey man, I'm not old. Well, it's funny. I'd be like, what do you mean? Frank Gore getting it done. So yeah, I think
exactly.
But anyway, yeah, I would be ready to go. So if the Packers want to give me a call. See, the game's on Thursday though. It's already Tuesday. I'd have to fly in. I'd have to fly straight up to San Fran.
It's true. You'd meet them there.
Yeah. Hey, Red, man, I don't know if you got my sizes all down, Pat. I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago. Red's the equipment manager. That's my guy. So I spoke to him.
You gotta go through. You know what? You gotta go through COVID protocol.
Oh, I do.
That's right. So you know what? That might throw a wrench in things. That unless you play with like a full blown face mask,
which guys should have been doing regardless in the first place. I don't know why they didn't make that. That should have been thing.
All right.
But we bring me in the Jaguars. They.
That might be a good game to come on in. I'm just saying that might be. Listen,
I think that would be a phenomenal warm up game for me.
That's it.
And not do much. But.
And for those expectations, all I'm saying is the Green Bay Packers have 2 of the best free agents on this show right now, and it's just Ryan Grant twice. But I'm just saying, I could run 2
of the best. One's a lot better than the other, but true. 2 of the best.
It's true. I could run a 7.4 40. So you know what? I don't want to brag on here, but
Tom, I don't even know. That would be interesting to see if you were able to get off the line.
Okay, I'm feeling. You know what? I thought we were joking around.
Listen, we are on the same page. this is why I want you to know how actually good NFL defense corners are. And check this out. Doesn't my man who plays for the 49ers?
Richard Sherman.
One of the best.
He's done. I'm gonna put Richard right on his ass.
Yeah, exactly. We're not talking about. We're talking about somebody who's arguably
just that
in the past decade one of the best.
Just that stutter step. Is there anything in the rules about cup checking a corner as you're making a route? Is there anything against the rules of just?
I don't know about the rule book, but you might want to head straight to the bus.
Obviously. Listen, I will show off my speed as I'm hauling ass to the bus. I'll run out for a route and I won't stop running. I'll go right through the tunnel.
Last play of the game. It's not going to go over very well.
That's fine. So if I'm just running and I'm like, whoops, and then boom, touchdown. I'm just saying, listen, Ryan, when COVID's all over, you know what? We'll have our own little combine and we'll.
I'm with it, brother.
We'll make it happen. And listen, I don't mean to brag, but we got some secret weapons over here. If I start showing some skin, it's gonna blind people. All right, and there's a translucency that's also available. I'm just gonna disappear. You put me in away uniforms in a white. There's a ghost on the field.
Like this shine, it messes with your eyes.
That's it. I don't see the sun. The sun and I don't get along. So
there's legitimacy in the delusion. So I'm with it.
That's it. Ryan Grant, it's always a pleasure. You can always find me at Tom Grossi Comedy on all the places. But thanks so much for watching, people. We'll see you next week as we prepare for the Jaguars, hopefully celebrating another W.
Yeah, let's get it done, Pac. It's a good, we got the good rivalry, San Fran, historic, good games. Let's get it done. Yeah, come on now.
Grind them into dust.
But I do. I expect guys to step it up. I don't think it's gonna be an easy game just because you got a lot of young parts, a lot of moving parts. Dexter Williams, I'm looking forward to you shouting out all Notre Dame dudes. I would love to see. Is Rashawn Gary, is he healthy?
Yes. But
come on, Rashawn. Let's solidify some stuff. Let's make some plays. Savage, let's make some plays, Savage. These are, guys that the bar is high for y'all. So let me see something.
Definitely.
And then Aaron, just be Aaron.
Just be Aaron. You don't have to change a thing. You're beautiful the way you are.
Just be Aaron. You're beautiful the way you are.
You're beautiful the way you are. Don't let anyone tell you differently. All right, folks. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Ryan Grant. And as always, go Pack, go.
Go Pack. Go. There you go.